That doesn't look good. Now that video clip really sucked. It's not as smooth as the one behind me.
That was absolutely terrible, John.
Yeah, I don't know why. I guess I could probably type and find out how fast my internet is tonight, but it should be good. Of course, we had internet problems today, so
I didn't.
Convenient. I mean, I'm not knocking them too bad. Brandy was working at the house. 12:59, the internet went out. She went to lunch at 1, so she was able to flee with a good excuse, as opposed to, I just don't want to be around you this afternoon, John.
Because you have fleas? What?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So what's been going on, John? How you doing tonight?
No, I keep hearing we're not supposed to do any of this small talk stuff until the end of the show.
Oh, okay. We'll wait till the end of the show.
But I don't have it. We don't have small talk on the Trello list tonight anyway. So,
all right. Well, welcome to No Driving Gloves.
I can't complain. I'm driving all over the place.
Okay.
So, get an oil change tomorrow morning. Got to be at the Mini dealership at 7 a.m. So,
oil changes are very important. No Driving Gloves highly encourages oil changes in your car regularly.
Well, somebody wants me to keep this car for a long time, so I have to change the oil in it. When you're only going to keep them for like a year, year and a half, 20,000, 30,000 miles, you don't need to change the oil. That's the next person's problem.
I mean, really, that's true.
I learned that from a previous boss. We get a new town car every year, would not change the oil. He would wash it by backing it out of the garage into the rain.
I mean, actually, as long as you dry it off, there wouldn't be water. If you keep the water spots off of it, it'd probably work.
No, I don't think he dried it off either.
Oh, well, then in that case.
It did hail one time, and he did have to have the paintless dent guys come out.
That sucks.
So.
Well,
we will be addressing tonight as our topic, just to let everybody know that once Derek and I meander to it, the way No Driving Gloves commonly does. Oh, hello, everybody who's out there watching us also.
We'll get there.
He complained. I just put, it's falling out of love. What to do or,
What happens when you fall out of love? Put your glasses on, John.
With cars. Somebody said I should have put that in the title. I thought this way we would get some like hopeless romantics watching this show tonight.
We're just trying to make that transition to No Driving Gloves After Dark.
I wish I could do that late night DJ voice. Venus Flytrap. Of course, I wish I could get the enthusiasm of Dr. Johnny Fever.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, that's good. That's great. Yeah.
Toby, it is actually, well, we'll see where it goes.
Soft yes, we could use some soft saxophone music.
Let's see.
Yeah.
I think I might be able to do something.
Oh, ask and ye shall receive. No, WKRP was in
No, John.
Too loud?
That was terrible.
Well, I told you I can't play the keyboard, but I've got like 10 different brass instruments.
Okay, so moving right along. Yes, Jason commented, Eric sounded like the ladies' man. We were talking about late night radio shows. So yes, I was attempting my best.
There's a clarinet.
No.
Hey, I got
sounds like every clarinet player I've ever known, though.
I gotta get my $20 out of this keyboard. I could have bought the fancy one for $25.
I might actually be able to hook us up with some saxophone music. Actually, that could be written specifically for the show that we could have copyright to. I actually work with the wife of a legendary saxophone player.
The wife of a legendary saxophone.
Mm-hmm. He actually he played in Doc Severson's band. He now does his own thing out on the road.
Maybe we can talk about that. We do need some theme music.
Yeah. So Toby wants to know if we're going to be talking about falling out of love with cars in general or a car.
Yeah, he keeps asking.
I would say if you are in love with a car, like one car specifically, this show is not going to help you, and you should probably seek therapy.
Well, what's your bitch, Derek?
Oh, I thought we did. The Trello board says we talk about the topic of what happens when you fall out of love with cars first.
We brought up the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We
That's the
brought up
title
the
of the
topic.
show.
Oh,
Then it's
wait.
John. My
Wait,
bad.
host John. Oops, John's bitch.
Yeah, it's John's bitch of the week.
My Trello board was in the wrong place.
See, we're all messed up tonight.
Yeah. What was I going to bitch about today? Because, boy, did I, of course, have some again. Going down the interstate. And I, like to not pay attention. And this, I don't know. I came across like tree limbs in the right lane of the interstate. So I drove around them. Half mile down the road, came across tree limbs in the interstate. Keep in mind, the trees are very, very far from the interstate that I was on. This continued on for about the next 5 miles until I caught up and passed the Dodge Ram pickup truck with the trailer with the bungee corded down tree limbs. Secure your damn loads, people. That's all I can say. I mean, I did watch the car behind me run some over because he wasn't paying as close attention as I was. I did not hit any, but it annoys me when people do that. I actually chased a guy down 25 years ago because he had nothing secured in the trailer of his that he was pulling behind, ironically, his Dodge Ram. And I was driving a Dodge Ram with a windshield that was installed. Literally, I picked it up at the windshield shop and took off on this trip. And something blew out of his truck and shattered my windshield. And I followed him, talked to him at the antique store, which he kind of said, like, go to hell. And went out, proceeded to call the police. And they came and they ticketed him for an unsecured load. And he ended up buying me a windshield. And the long story short.
Classic.
Tony Watley says I'm not supposed to say long story short because I just made the story longer. Now I've made the story even longer.
So basically, lesson of that story is make sure you secure your loads because it is really annoying when you don't.
Yes.
And you risk damaging other people's cars, which is not cool.
We were going to start our Christmas suggestions tonight, but I think we're going to push that off a week. Unless you have one tonight, Derek. I had a few, but I'm kind of reaching out to a couple of people to see if I can get, I want to be honest, affiliate links or special links to purchase things.
Yeah, I'm good holding off. I had one, but right now I literally did not bring the paper that I wrote it down on with me, so I'm blanking on the name of it. So it's better to wait till next week.
So we will be getting into Christmas season. And these are
That's
gifts that
right.
we're
Before
suggesting.
Halloween, people.
These are gifts we're suggesting you can buy for others. The WKRP in Cincinnati box set with the original music, you can buy for me.
And we're coming up on Thanksgiving, folks. No better time for WKRP than Thanksgiving and the turkey drop.
Ooh, that is true.
Mhm.
Nothing like a proper discussion of helicopters.
Yes, very important. Transportation related.
So, okay, do we jump into the topic? Because
Let's jump into that topic. Both feet first.
Huh? Oh, both feet first?
Heck yeah. Clutch and
falling
gas.
out of love with cars. I've had this happen a couple of times in my life. I usually end up resorting back to them. Having a slower time this time around getting back into the swing of things. But I mean, I probably really the first time is when I left White Post Restorations and I jumped into the conservation field. I just was tired of cars every day. And then going home, cars every day. And then all of them in the driveway. And, at the time I had 13 cars. And at any given point in time, as our friends called us, we were Euro white trash because it wasn't Camaros on blocks. It was some sort of European cars or Lotus or something broken in the driveway. Her Jeep sat in the garage for a year and a half for me to change the radiator. I just, no interest in doing it. I stepped away for a few years and jumped back in, and just the right thing presents itself. And that's kind of how I fix it. But somebody said, if you do what you love for a living, you'll never work a day in your life. That person obviously didn't do what they'd love for a living, in my opinion, because you kind of have to step away from it sometimes.
Well, I will tend to agree with that, John, but I think if you maybe look at it a little deeper, maybe if you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life. But I don't know if that one is the issue, because I think if you love your job, you're going to be happy. I think the bigger one is the people that say, oh, you make your hobby your job and you won't work and you'll be happy. I think that's the problem, because you have to separate your work and your hobby. Because if it's work and hobby are the same, then like you said, it's 24/7. You go to work, it's cars. You come home, it's cars. You go to work, it's cars. You come home, it's cars. So it's more about, not making or having your hobby be the same thing. And I think that's where you and I both failed epically, because I think we both have a hobby of cars, and we both have and had a profession in the automotive field, be it restoration and conservation, and the museum field. We have very similar backgrounds and very similar foolishness of having the hobby of cars as well. I think if you let's say you're an accountant, right? And you love accounting and that's your job, you're an accountant, but typically you don't come home and make your hobby something in accounting. I mean, I'm sure there's some that do, but I know accountants that they're not going home and, figuring out what numbers they can crunch at home unless it's the weekend or something. They're trying to figure out their budget, for the year, but for their personal life. But actually, I know a number of car hobby guys and ladies that are accountants in their day to day. So I think doing what you love for a profession is okay. I like saying, if your passion is your profession, you're usually pretty happy. But have a hobby that is not the same as your work day or your profession, because it will wear on you. And I'm like you, John. I've given up on cars. I've come back to cars, at least in my personal life as a hobby. I've always worked in the automotive museum field. I've never left that field because of it, but certainly in my hobby and my personal life, there have been major downturns in the hobby part of the cars. And I'll be honest, I'm in a bit of that right now. I'm in a bit of a out of love funk with the cars, and yeah, some of it plays with some of the issues, that, like, the cable company cutting the underground line to my pole barn and still not having it fixed. Those little details where you just can't get out there and do anything. But it's also, it's just worn on me now to a point of, I don't find the enthusiasm of going out to the barn and working on the cars. And life in general has kind of swung me into one of those low points.
Yeah, it's weird, the little things that can do that, whether it be cold weather or something just doesn't go right, and then you just don't want to walk back out into your shop, or even sometimes look things up. I mean, I kind of, when my last automotive career ended, I'll be honest, I was done. I enjoyed the job. I enjoyed the place. I enjoyed most of the management. It's just, it was literally 24/7. If I went to work and it was cars, and I came home and it was cars, kind of my stuff cars, but cars. But I would go to a car event and all they wanted to do was talk about work, because I worked in a very public automotive business. And it just, that's the way every conversation's, go to a car meet. Oh, what's going on at? How's it going? How's so-and-so doing? Oh, where you been? No, it's always, so what's going on? And it really, it really took a chunk out. And I've been happy since I left. And the best thing that ever happened was finally walking out, struggling with the decision. But I've said it before many times on the podcast, was buying the Mini. It's kind of made it fun again. I still have some low points, and I still haven't went to, the old car club meetings or anything. And I've been talking to Brandy about it. And part of it is I'm out of the habit. Part of it is I think the COVID thing, why, knock on wood, I have never got COVID. It changed, and you're so used to staying home. I don't want to go anywhere. I created the podcast as a way to kind of get away from cars. And of course, I've kind of made that a little bit of business and keep pushing it a little bit that way, as you and Will know, pushing it a little bit harder. But this to me is fun. We get to chat about cars. I get to buy all this gear. I've got 4 or 5 different podcasts going through my head. Couple of things to do, couple of things to try. Talked about one on the cigar podcast. Talked about one of my ideas a little bit ago. So I've done what you've just kind of recommended. I've made a hobby that isn't cars, but now cars can be my hobby also, because my day job isn't dealing with cars. I spend a lot of time in cars. I spend a lot of time in traffic and dealing with stupid people around me in cars. But I'm finding that passion again, and I hope it's showing a little bit in keeping things moving and keeping things flowing and trying to be a little bit more enthusiastic, even though I got a depressing piece of news today about cars. But do you see your current low, Derek, is a temporary thing, or is it, you know, and I know that job change a few months ago was a big one that, you know, you enjoyed where you were at, but honestly, I think where you've landed is much more your field because you get to play with the unusual. You and I like cars, not one specific model, not one specific type, not one specific era. While we prefer eras and things, I think we can hold a reasonably intelligent conversation on just about any type of vehicle or any type of era. You know, like you said, you're in this current funk. What have you had in your past that were funks, and how did you slide out of them?
Oh, that's a good question, John. I mean, I'm sure this is just temporary, right? I've got a amazing wife that supports the idea of having these cars as a hobby, and she enjoys them. And I have two little kids that love to go out to the barn and play in the cars and pretend they're driving them and go for rides. So, you know, I know it's going to be a temporary situation as things get figured out. But I think I actually remember probably the very first time I guess I would consider the falling out of love funk with cars. I don't even know what brought it on necessarily, but I remember I was in college. Actually, I was at Central Michigan University, and had, I mean, to a point, I mean, I'd started a car club on campus. It was actually a registered student organization at Central, and actually started it with someone who is still a friend to this day and actually works for Hemmings Motor News as a writer and editor. Great guy. And, you know, he and we've gone through this too. You know, we talk about going through funks, but I remember in college I had an apartment with a friend from high school, and, you know, I had a lot of my car related stuff in my bedroom of the apartment. You know, he's a car guy, more of a truck guy and motorcycle guy. And, yeah, we had car stuff and truck stuff and motorcycle stuff all around the apartment. And I just remember one day looking around and I was like, why do I have all this crap up? And I literally took everything off the walls in the bedroom of the apartment that I had and boxed it all up and had blank walls for months because I just didn't want to look at car stuff. I have no idea why it happened. And, you know, I'm sure probably the next time I went home and got in the GTO and went for a drive, it kind of helped rekindle that passion and need to have cars in my life. But I mean, it was, I guess, you know, that was 21 years ago. So, you know, it ebb and flow, right? Ebb and flow. And, you know, I mean, Toby brought up something interesting a little bit ago. Toby's very, very active in the comments tonight, which I love. Thank you, Toby. And, you know, he mentioned here, and maybe I should save this for my Derek's bitch of the week, but maybe we'll just make that part of this topic because Toby mentions here, I get so worn out with friggin' muscle car guys who cannot carry a conversation without having every word sound like talking about Melba toast in Dazed and Confused. But you know what, Toby? If you talked about muscle cars, it'd be a lot cooler if you did. Anyway, but that was actually something that's been kind of tearing at me lately, both professionally and in the hobby, is the narrow-mindedness of some, not even some, I guess maybe it's a lot of people in the hobby. And, getting so focused, like Toby says here, the muscle car group, or the whatever, like John, you just said, the eras or the whatever it is, get very hyper focused. And I mean, that's okay, right? I don't have a problem with being hyper focused on one genre of car, one era, or one type of car, or even one make of car. That's fine. But what gets me is when those people that are so focused in those one areas and or in that one area or whatever it is, start attacking other people on, because they're talking about general car history and information. And it gets really annoying. And I think that's kind of what Toby's kind of moving at here is, that it's just some of us, John, myself, and there's a number of people, and especially in the museum field, when you're a professional in the automotive museum field, it's what I always say is I am not an expert on one specific automobile. I love the people that try to play stump the curator, because you're going to stump the curator, because I don't know every last detail about one car. I have to know a little bit of information about a whole lot of cars and how that all plays into the greater realm of automotive history and how the car has developed and transportation has developed over time. And I think that's one thing that's really been grating on me lately is, the people that are just kind of like, well, you don't know anything, and it's every group that gets hyper focused can get that way. And
I think it's okay to be hyper focused. I have no problem.
I said that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
With the guys that love their Mustangs, and the Mustangs rule all, or the Camaros rule all, or the Alfa Romeos rule all, or I'm a Ferrari guy, and that's why Ferrari's making an SUV, because I can't have a Porsche SUV in my garage, and things like that. Fine. And you can tell me how great your Ferrari is, and you can tell me how great your Mustang is. But when I show up in my Mini or my CRX, or, my Mustang to your Camaro, or my Camaro to your Mustang or something, yeah, there can be a little bit of bickering, but it doesn't have to be this, I'm not ever going to talk to you again because you've got the, wrong thing. I mean, I'm seeing Honda Goldwings mixed in with Harley Davidsons now. The motorcycle people are, figuring it out. Why can't the car people figure it out? That we all enjoy, we enjoy the hobby. Not all of us have the same passion. If we all loved Mustangs, what a boring freaking world it would be. Who would have the Mustang people have to argue with? The only people that would get excitement are the doctors and nurses, fixing all the people from crashing their Mustangs.
I knew it was going there. Yes.
I've actually seen a couple of videos recently of that. One Mustang just got the supercharger on it, turned out of, they're filming it, turned out of the engine place, goes down the street, and not the Mustang's fault. Somebody turned in front of the Mustang and he just plowed him. Oops, but it's still a Mustang, but
it's still fun to make fun of it.
You're a big brass era guy. I kind of like my post-war sports cars and my Japanese things, and you harass me all the time about my mini trucks. But I understand, you don't hate me because I like mini trucks. You're kind of disgusted by the fact I like mini trucks, but
a little bit. I mean, I hate you for so many other reasons, John. It's not the cars.
No, I try to give that. What was Toby said he saw that video that I was just talking about, and he gets into, is the car hobby really a hobby? With most people talking about, you get caught up in value and losing money in this auction and watching this at Barrett-Jackson. And I don't, we talk about some of the auctions and stuff here. We talk about car values because it's part of the hobby, but I don't obsess over it. We talked about Tony Watley's podcast last week, and I hope you were able to take a chance and go listen to it, where he's talking about buying cars, and he's doing it the way you should. Like I said, don't ever take financial advice from me. Don't ever take financial advice from me. Tony tells you how to do it right. Cars are a passion.
I want to stop there because I think I don't agree 100% with that statement that you're saying that Tony does it right. Tony,
no,
you
you're
need
not
to
letting me
expand that.
finish.
Tony,
You're-
Tony does it right as a business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not letting me finish. Tony does it
sorry.
right. He makes money on it. I buy cars because I like them. I pick a number that I want to pay for a car. It's usually less than what I've seen them at market. And there's always, I've said it before, there's always 3 or 4 cars on my list that I'd like to have. Yeah, I'd love to have an F40. Yeah, I'd love to have a 959, a Veyron, whatever. I'm never going to have those, not unless, I start buying lottery tickets when I'm outside of Alabama. Or somebody really, goes to nodrivinggloves.com support, /support and really buys us a couple thousand cups of coffee, or joins our Patreon at a very nice level.
Maybe one of our listeners could just accidentally put the decimal point in the wrong place. Just slip up.
But it shouldn't be about that. Yeah, you've got to pay attention to it, or otherwise you end up, 50 years and broke like me. But I've had fun with my cars and I've enjoyed my cars. And yeah, I've got my ups and my downs and things with them. And, I'll lose money on my Mini. Hell, it's a brand new car. I bought it at a good price. If I was to make money on it, I could have, the afternoon I bought it, I could have drove down the street to Carvana and they would have paid me over $1,000 more than my out the door price that I had just paid hours earlier at the BMW dealership. But it's, it's fun. It's a passion. And some people are in it to make money. Some people are in it to watch their portfolio and do it as an investment. It's kind of like, to me, day trading. Hopefully, if you're day trading, it's a hobby and you're only doing it with money you don't have. It's like people say with crypto. Don't put any money in crypto that you cannot afford to lose. It's fun. It's like going gambling. People who gamble and do it responsibly, you're having fun, but you're probably going to come out the door with a little bit lighter wallet than you went in. But I'm not, if it was all about the money, every car, all 497 Buick Grand Nationals would have 0 miles. Fortunately, about 25 of them were driven. The rest of them, people put up and they saved them for the next guy, and they saved them for the next guy. Why do that? If you've got something, beautiful and gorgeous and fun, use it. People always make that contrast to women, and I think women could make it to men. Why have a gorgeous hunk of a guy or a gorgeous supermodel, as a girlfriend and not sleep with them? What are you doing? Saving it for the next guy, or saving it for it's the same thing with cars. Have fun with them. Enjoy them. That's what they're there to do. If you make a couple of bucks, you make a couple of bucks. If you're doing it as part of your financial investment portfolio, really bad idea. But it's not a car hobby then. It's a business venture. And that should be totally different than a hobby.
A hobby. Yeah. And that's, going back to a couple things you said. Number one, it's kind of like this podcast as well. If you've got two, stud hosts like us, why wouldn't you listen? Don't save us for later. Listen now.
Where's all those female applications for guest hosts?
So, but this is another topic that's been kind of in the vein of what I've already talked about. really grating on me lately, at least on the professional side of the career, but also a little bit on my hobby, in the automotive realm as well. And Toby just mentioned that we need to get together and talk, and we're gonna a lot of us are going to be seeing each other in a couple weeks. The National Association of Automobile Museums and actually World Forum for Motor Museums conferences in about 6 weeks, so a lot of us are going to be getting together and commiserating over probably some alcoholic beverages at the bar. So, but the monetary side of this can really irritate me at times. And right now, I think I'm finding myself irritated by it, because not only, I mean, if it's a business thing, like what Tony Watley talked about on his podcast, I get that. I get that there's a business out there that is doing this, but what really bugs me is when it crosses a line into the, number one, the automotive museum field, but also into the hobby a little bit, because what you see happening, and the reason I'm complaining about this is because I've heard it way too many times in my career so far, when a museum will acquire a car and you get the keyboard warriors going out on the social media posts that the museum acquired this car, and we're really happy to have it in the collection. And the first comments are, well, that's not an important car. Why would you need that? Why would there's so many other important cars out there? And then they list the more important cars. And the only reason they're listing those more important cars, as they call them, is because they are the cars that are at that time worth the most money, and only the highest end collectors, people like Jay Leno and Bruce Meyer, and name the big names in the collecting hobby right now, are going out and buying them. And that's what makes that important, because it's valuable, and the rich collectors are buying them. That doesn't make it important. That makes it a valuable car monetarily. Historic importance is much different. Yes, I will admit a Type 57 Atlantic Bugatti has importance. But the only reason that people are familiar with that car and feel that it is, this great car that, every museum needs to try to have one, because, oh my gosh, Jay Leno would own one, and this person and that person. That's not what museums are out there for. And it's not what some of us in the hobby are trying to collect for. What we're interested in is historic significance. And I will put up any day a conversation that a Dodge Caravan is more important in the history of the automobile than a Type 57 Atlantic Bugatti, because the minivan changed the world and is the reason we have modern SUVs to today. There's a difference. And when that difference and that line gets blurred, it really, really makes me want to give up.
Well, you just gave me a show idea, which would be interesting. And that would be and don't answer this too in depth.
Okay.
What vehicles would you put in a museum? Because I think we're going to do a show this way, that are the most impactful to the history of the automobile. I don't care if they exist still. I don't care if they were drawings by Darwin. If it's, you say the minivan, I say the Pontiac Aztec. Mm-hmm. And, you're right. Why can't I think of what I'm talking about right now? I'm thinking of Bugatti too. You had one up at Henry Ford, white car, big thing, long thing.
Bugatti Royale.
Yeah, the Royale. They're cool cars, but they made a statement, but did they change automotive history, where they were the biggest and baddest of that category. A Porsche 959 had an impact. A first generation NSX had an impact, but let's make that a show topic.
Yeah. Jason commented, isn't the Type 57 the precursor to any sports car of today, just as the minivan is to the SUV? Not really. Sports cars were around before the Type 57. The Type 57 was a technological, Bugatti was a technological advancement to the automobile. Bugatti did amazing things. So, but it's where, in my opinion, as a museum curator and as someone who is more interested in the hobby of collecting, historically relevant automobiles or just interesting automobiles, there's a line that has to be drawn. And but I would not be one that says that the Type 57 is the precursor to any sports car of today, because you had a number of sports cars prior to that. I mean, the first, as I recall, I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. The first use of the term sports car in the United States, I don't know Europe yet, but in the United States, has been tracked, at least as far as we can tell so far, was in a newspaper article in like 1919. My guess, I haven't found that yet, but my guess would be it was probably in reference to a Mercer here in the US, because Mercer racebouts were one of the prime sports cars of America at that time. But there have been, really, if you go back in Europe, the 1904 Mercedes is often considered really the first advent of the sports car, because of its horsepower and its capabilities and everything that was engineered behind it. So, the Type 57, albeit a technological advancement, a beautiful car in design, precursor to sports cars, I don't know that I would agree with that. Maybe the precursor to supercar, I don't know. It's a hard one.
Well, I had to type in what you just talked about, the first use of the term sports car. Wikipedia, so take it for what you wish. It was first used in 1919 in the United Kingdom.
Maybe it was the United Kingdom, not the United States. My apologies.
In the Times newspaper, the first use of the term in the United States was 1928. And it says sports cars started to become popular in the 20s, originally used for two-seat roadsters. But I think I'm with you, is that I thought Mercers were kind of referred to as sports cars in the teens. And the Model T Speedsters and things like that. Mm-hmm. So those are the earliest things. Maybe the term, who cares when the term came out? And when you look at the definition of what a true sports car is, these cars have existed from the earliest days of the automobile. It's kind of what is it? Once the second car was built, we invented automobile racing. So it's the same thing. And go back to that with the business side of this. And I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, but another perfectly relevant time to bring it up. Who is saying that a certain car is the precursor to something, or is the, definitive line? Is it someone who is not connected to the financial side of that vehicle, or is it someone that is directly tied to the financial value of that vehicle, who stands to make money by making that vehicle more important, therefore driving the price up on that vehicle? That is the big trick. And that's where, in the museum field, if you're on the ethical side of the museum field,
and John knows this, and I know this, and John kept a very professional and separated life. But if you are if you are employed by a 501c3 nonprofit and you are in the field of automotive museums, such as I am, I don't ever discuss giving a valuation on a vehicle to someone, because it could look like I, as a museum employee or a representative of a said museum, I'm trying to drive up the value of something. And there's actually tax laws that prevent us from doing that. As a nonprofit, we cannot give a valuation on a vehicle that is being donated to our institution. Number one, unethical practices, but number two, it keeps it honest. And that's where you have to be careful, in my opinion, who you're listening to, because if you're listening to the person that owns the car and is getting ready to sell it, they're going to do everything they can to drive that price up. They're not concerned with what true automotive history might be.
Where did was it Jason talking about would rather have a sports car? Nobody writes songs about caravans. Well, it's hard to be cool in a minivan by the Oak Ridge Boys, minivan by Eric Orton, minivans Doughboy, Hey Little Minivan by Austin Lounge Lizards.
Oh yeah.
Rolling in the Minivan by Cuckoo Kang's Roo. So.
Oh man, Cuckoo Kang's Roo did one?
Yeah.
Dude, I have their albums. I must have missed it.
I was trying to see here. Let's see here. I pushed the wrong button. There's too many buttons here.
It's actually very interesting. And this is, one of the things I like about the show, because Toby, and Jason are making great comments tonight. But as Toby knows, in the NAMM organization, just a couple of years ago, we actually at one of the conferences had a presentation on this, and the group that was making the presentation actually sent out a survey to a number of automotive museum employees, asking them what their top, I think it was top 5, maybe top 10. Toby might jump in here and comment, but cars what were the most impactful automobiles. And we did a whole seminar on this, and what we as a organization of auto museums and historians all would pick. And, Toby's listing them out here, but like you said, John, I think we want to hold off on that discussion and make it a bigger show.
I had some inputs from inside my studio too, and we're definitely going to make that into a what do I want to say? A show.
So how do you fall back in love with the automobile? Get on No Driving Gloves podcast, and there we go.
We're rolling in the minivan. We're rolling in the minivan. Rolling in the minivan. We're rolling.
Now you said you had that album, right, Derek?
Yes, totally do. And we do not own the rights to that music, and we're likely going to get sued by the.
We'll get a takedown notice.
Cuckoo.
I will edit it out of the audio podcast.
Oh, okay.
We just can't monetize the YouTube video.
Okay, boom. What were we just talking about? Oh, so what do you do when you fall out of love with the automobile? You get on No Driving Gloves and you have a conversation like this, and you get all fired up about it again.
Toby's most recent comment, it's the BS. It's not the cars. It's the BS that drives you nuts. And that's I want to kind of agree with him there, because it's the Viper Club saying, it's a Porsche Club saying, it's the cars that brought us together. It's the people that keep you coming back, but it's also the people that make you go away. There's a reason, me as a teenager didn't go to a lot of the Saturday night cruise-ins because people didn't like my Honda. They wanted their 57 Chevys and their, 64 Impalas and things like that. They wanted their big cars and their 60 stuff. I was wrong. And I've made it a statement through my whole life is that you want to get kids involved in the hobby. You want to keep this thing rolling and keep this interest alive. We got to quit playing Beach Boys. We have to start playing Motley Crue. And now we probably need to start playing Britney Spears or I don't know who's current now, Taylor Swift at car shows. You've got to keep
A little bit of every generation. Need some Eminem in there, some Backstreet Boys, bring it up,
Just think of what would have happened to the world if the Cuckoo Kangaroos were played at more car shows. You have rows of minivans there, which that was the depressing piece of automotive news I saw today, is that Dodge announced today, or Stellantis announced, the Dodge Ram ProMaster City will cease production by the 2023 model year, which is the last of the commercial minivans. Ford Transit Connect was killed a few weeks ago. The Metris was killed a few weeks before that. Nissan cut out the NV200 about 2 years ago. And of course, Chevrolet left the market in 2018. So no more commercial minivans. And boy, am I kicking myself for ever selling my Transit Connect. I should have kept that thing.
You know what? If there's no minivans, let's just go to electric self-driven pods. I'm over.
Well,
it.
that's the
We're
hope,
done.
is that electric will bring back the minivan.
But there
And
won't be
who
room
was
for
I with?
passengers. There'll
Podcast I
all
was
be
just
batteries.
listening to. He went to where he stores his cars in California, LA, Santa Monica, and right next to where his storage was this row of cars that included the new electric VW bus. So maybe we won't have to hold out too long, because I do believe, is it the ID4? Is that what that's called?
It was ID something. I think I think it might be ID.
That's not that far away.
Yeah.
But damn it, we didn't make it through a show without saying electric cars.
Oh. Well, but we have to clarify that. Is it only that we can't talk about modern electric cars? Because historically, they're kind of important, especially early on.
Well,
during
we'll
the
discuss
century.
that in our inventory of car museums.
Good.
And if you have input on that, I'm going to take some of the notes out of the comments here today. And I just read Toby's comment here, and I didn't see to Jason. No, Jason didn't see that. So now I totally lost my train of thought. We'll save that for if you wanted to provide suggestions for what are the influential cars that should be in our value, no object, don't care if they're worthless, museum of influential cars. But Derek, you were saying, how do you fall back into love with cars?
Yeah. How do you? Come on, John.
Me?
Open-ended question. Looking for answers.
I was perfectly happy doing the conservation work I was doing. Say, after I left White Post and I went to Conservation Solutions, and I was restoring some pretty cool shit. Saturn V rockets, Titanic artifacts, historic landmarks in DC and throughout the country. Wasn't a crappy job by any means, but all of a sudden I like Lotus, and there it was, the mecca of Lotus. If you're going to get back into cars and you're into Lotus, there's really, at the time, one place. Now there's two places. Lotus Engineering has a pretty good that's kind of what did it. That's what got me back into it. And it was very passionate for a long time. And like I said, by the end of it, it was people always talking about things around me and not me. And it gets that way. There's also some narcissism and some arrogance and stuff that came with that job that wasn't very healthy. But I stepped away from it. And like I said, now I'm beginning to really get back into cars. I've started to find a little bit more passion even for this podcast and that since I stumbled across this Mini a year ago. People around me didn't want me to buy it. I'm so glad I did. I'm where I am today with, the passion for this podcast. Technically, she kind of admits that it was the Mini in my online dating profile that pushed her over the edge, after looking at this wonderful dad bod and picture of my reclusive dog.
Wait, you're talking about the Mini, the car, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's things are very similar to the Mini because footlongs do come into play.
Okay.
So, original Minis had those 12-inch diameter wheels.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what we were talking about.
But that's how it's happened. I don't go seeking to get back into the car hobby. Something comes along. And, I slide back into it. And it's taken a little bit longer this time, but I'm very disappointed I'm not going to be able to do a drive at the end of the month because of just scheduling. But I enjoy, I can't say that, like I said, I can't tell you what makes it happen. It's just one day you wake up and, hey, I'm having fun again.
Yeah, I mean, it's very true. And I agree with Toby too. Toby made a comment and he just basically said, get in a car and drive, just do it. Get beyond the BS, go alone, get in a car or a truck and just drive. And it is, you get in one of the cars and you drive and you clear your head. And, it's for those of us in the hobby and those of us that have the passion, it's exactly what we need sometimes, just to clear our head, forget what everything else is going on, and just reconnect with the automobile and, find that passion again and find that love for the vehicle. And, that's probably one of the things that's got me a little down in a funk right now. Yeah, I can go to work and there's cars that are, 560 cars in the collection and probably close to 470 plus of those are running driving cars that you can just go get in and drive around the back parking lot. But my own vehicles, each one has a small problem right now. And because I don't have power in the barn, it's hard to go out there and work on it and get it fixed and all those things. And that might be one of the things bringing me down is I can't just come home on a weekend and jump in the Chrysler and, living on a 1.5 lane back road with no traffic, kids sit in the back seat and we drive, down to the neighbor's driveway, turn around, come back, go to the other neighbor's driveway, turn around, come back. And or we just drive around the yard because we do have enough room to drive around the yard and they get a kick out of it. And right now I can't do that. And so that might be part of it. That funk is just not being able to get in the car, reconnect with the passion, find the love again, and, find that happiness that is there when you're connected to the vehicle.
Yeah, Toby. See, last time I really fell out of love with cars, I bought my Transit Connect because it's kind of cool and I had some customizing ideas for it. Sold my SHO, and to be honest, bought a Mazda 5 minivan because I tried to become practical. And then I ended up with a Fusion, and of course the Fusion became the Mini. It just took a little bit of time to get back to it. So I didn't even have the fun car to go out, and drive and enjoy. And now I keep, heard Farah talk in the last 2 or 3 episodes about the new Corolla GR, and yeah. But
It is fun.
so it's nothing's going to make you do it. You're not going to make yourself fall back into love with cars. It's circumstances around you make you lose the passion. But I think when you're as car as I am and Derek is, and I mean, even Will's had his ups and downs with the automotive hobby. We still have what's the old saying, motor oil in our veins or whatever. It's eventually going to percolate back up. It's just a series of circumstances. So what I've noticed a lot in the comments is everybody in the comments is admitted to being car people and has admitted to going through these lows. And I don't think car people are exclusive. I'm sure people who bowl go through lows where they don't want to bowl, and people who golf, the same thing. And whatever your hobby is, I'm sure we all have our highs and our lows. But something will potentially make that come back. I just think I see it more often with car people or motorcycle people or boating people. That mechanical stuff comes back. I know a lot of people that are passionate about golf that lose their interest and never pick up a club again. So
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not unique to the car hobby. It's probably something that it happens in every single hobby there is, and you just lose interest for a while and then pick it back up. And I mean, even I know from people I know. I mean, even my dad. He much like me was a musician when he was a kid. He when he was younger, he learned to play guitar. Sang, did those things, and he didn't do it for a very long time. And I remember when I was probably in my early teens, he got a guitar again and took lessons again and started playing again. He still plays to this day. I played trombone all the way up into early college. But I will say it's been probably, picking it up and playing it in earnest and actually playing a full song or something like that. It's probably been since early college since the last time I've done that or played in a band setting. Other than that, it's been the frequent get the trombone out and play a scale or two and then go, oh, wasn't that fun, and put it away. Just no time. And trombone solos on your own, sitting around, aren't that exciting. I'll have to say it's quite boring, actually. So, but it's I think it's just common. We all kind of have our passion, and sometimes we go, I wonder if there's something else out there I could do for a while and take a break.
yes, Toby, you should.
Ooh, Toby, yeah. We could start the NAMM band.
The damn Nam band.
Mm-hmm. And Toby, I'm not going to talk about it on this episode because I'm not going to ruin my my seminar for the World Forum NAMM conference, but you're going to see a big part of why for the last few years I slip in and out of questioning things about the hobby. I'm going to talk about some stuff I've not talked about in the past, and that happened in my career. And, we'll talk about it maybe on the show after that. So.
Yeah. I just wanted to get out and talk about this a little bit openly because, like I said, people in the comments have admitted that, wow, if Derek and I go through it, they don't feel so different. Like I say, we all go through it. It all happens. I don't think we're going away in the near future. We'll find out 15 minutes after the show. but we'll we got a show topic out of this. We got another show topic already lined up for next week. Couple of interviews coming up. So NoDrivingGloves.com, everything's there. No Driving Gloves /support. If you feel we provided any value or entertainment for you tonight. I think.
Sorry, John, I'm going to jump in. Can they still leave us a good review?
They can leave us a review. I don't push for reviews because, to be 100% honest, have you ever found a podcast by reading a review? And they don't matter. I don't care. Every podcast consultant, Apple, Google, all those tell you reviews don't matter. Every podcast tell you reviews matter. It's kind of social proof, make us feel better. Hey, if I'm talking to one person, if I'm talking to two people, or if I'm talking to 1,000 people, I don't care. I'm going to talk to them. So my voice will be here talking about something.
So it's kind of like this podcast. The hosts don't know what they're talking about, and the topics don't matter. Wait, maybe that's actually vice versa.
Kind of like, I don't know.
Did I say that
the
backwards?
points don't matter.
Oh, the points don't matter. That's what it was.
Love all, drive all, and go from there. That's a good way to close it out tonight, Toby. You've been very helpful tonight in your comments. Thanks for keeping the discussion going. We want videos of that trumpet and Nam and Derek, no matter how it's played. Ooh, I don't know. Was it my keyboarding earlier, Toby, that got you thinking about Air Supply?
Oh, Lord.
Okay. With that pun, which is now on the screen, I'll talk to everybody next week.
Bye.